the age of 18, I developed a routine, and this routine helped me achieve my first $10,000 month with social media marketing. In this video, I'm going to share the routine with you. I'm going to reveal everything and basically pull back the curtain on what I did on a day-to-day basis for about 18 months to achieve $10,000 a month. Now, I managed to get from 0 to 10 grand a month in about 6 months of work once I was full-time on my agency. It really just came down to one simple thing. You may already know the answer, but let's get started. So the first thing you need to do if you want to start an agency or build a company, you need to prioritize your health, because if your health goes to shit, you fall apart. If you get ill, if you're tired, if you haven't got energy, then your business suffers. So I get up at 5 and I'd be in the gym by 5:30. I'd train for about 45 minutes. I'd leave the gym, I'd get home, I'd cold shower. What that meant is I had my workout done and I was probably ready to go by about 7:30. All right. So by the time that most people were getting up, I'd already trained. What I would then do is from about 7:30 until 9:30, I would work on my agency. And what that basically meant is I would do outreach and I would do cold calls to gyms. So I worked in the gym niche, and what it meant is that most gyms would open up at sort of like 7:30. They'd get their morning classes coming in and stuff. So I would drive to my apprenticeship from 7:30 to 8. It took me about 25 minutes to drive there. I'd listen to Power Glide by Ray Shremmerd on repeat. I don't know why, the song haunts me to this day. And I'd sit in the car park of my apprenticeship, the building where I was. I would get out my phone, I'd get out my laptop, I'd hotspot myself up and Skype on my laptop, or just, dialing on my phone. I would go through and I would call these gyms in the UK. And I'd basically introduce myself, and the script was very simple. I wasn't very good at cold calling at that point. I literally just called them up and said, "Hey, my name's Charlie. I'm starting a business that helps gyms get more customers. Do you want to talk to me?" That was literally the script that I followed. And it wasn't very effective. It didn't work too well, but for every 100 dials, 200 dials, one person would probably say yes. And so what I would try and do, my aim would be to make at least 100 dials, because it was such a quick script and a lot of people didn't answer. So I'd aim to make 100 dials, which meant I would book an appointment typically for the same day, usually around my lunch break, so 1 p.m. So I was restricted where I could only do calls at 1 p.m. or from 6 p.m. onwards because I had this 9 to 5. So I would cold call all the way up until 9:30, which is when my apprenticeship started. It started at 9:30 because that's when businesses were most receptive to cold calls, because by that point everyone's in the office. So I would continue cold calling from 9:30 to 1 p.m. Okay. At around 12:45, my manager, I would always make a joke, say, "Look, I'm really hungry. Do you mind if I eat my lunch?" And I would eat my lunch at 12:45, sort of scrounge it down, or whatever you want to call it. And what that meant is that at 1 o'clock, as soon as the clock struck 1, I would get in my car. I was driving a Vauxhall Corsa at the time, and I would drive to a nearby lay-by, so about a 5-minute drive. Now that I think about it, it's an emotional time. And I drive to a lay-by and I would either take the meeting that I set that morning, and the sales script I followed was very simple. I'd say to them, "Look, so I'm starting this business. I know I can help you because I've seen it done time and time again. I want someone to share the confidence in me so I can deliver you more customers." I'd ask them questions about their gym and what they were looking for. I'd ask them how much money they wanted to make and ask them why they wanted to make it. I dig into the whys and the goals and the future they wanted to achieve. And then what I would do is I'd basically just explain at a very high level how my service worked. And I say, "Look, right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in, I'm going to build ads for you, I'm going to build funnels for you, I'm going to send qualified people through that funnel. They're going to click some links and type in some forms, and then you're going to receive their information so you can call them to get them in for a membership." How does that sound? I wasn't good at sales. I wasn't very articulate, but I think it took me about 40 meetings, or maybe even more than that, to be honest. It probably took me 40 or 80 or 100 meetings to sign my first client, which was a guy called Ian. So I was doing this for about 3 months before I signed my first client whilst I was doing this apprenticeship. So I do the sales call typically around lunchtime. I would then go back to work, to my apprenticeship. From 2 p.m. to 5:30 p.m. I'd be back to cold calling. Now, because I was doing an apprenticeship in the UK, there's this mandatory thing called on-the-job training, which basically means that you have to spend an hour every single day at work doing some training. Most apprentices, they use that to spend the time or they use that time doing their coursework. I managed to get 1 year's worth of coursework done in the first 3 months, purely because I focused for the last hour of each day. Because I knew that if I had an extra hour in the day, I could go and spend time listening to Sam Ovens' Consulting Accelerator, which was the course that I bought at the time. After 3 months of doing that coursework and following the same routine throughout the day, the last hour of the day would be spent studying courses and basically all these courses online. And that really helped me out with mindset, with service delivery. I dedicate basically an hour every day, sort of forced by the college, an hour every day to learning something. And I would pick the problem I was facing the most, which could be mindset, I haven't got the motivation to work, or it could be service delivery, and I would focus on learning courses around that. Okay, 5:30 strikes. I drive home. There's traffic coming back from the town that I was in, which is called Yeovil, right? If anyone is from the southwest, you'll know Yeovil traffic is awful, right? But I'd get home at usually about 6:15. At that point, I would eat dinner, usually with my family. After dinner, I would also prepare my lunch for the next day so that I had something to eat and I didn't have to worry about going and buying meal deals or anything like that. From 6:30 until about 8:30 or 9 p.m, I would make more cold calls, or I would conduct meetings or try and set more meetings. Basically, the first few months of my life in SMMA, it was all about appointments. It was cold calls. It was nothing. If I had as much of a spare minute in my day that I wasn't spending at my apprenticeship or winding down, from sort of 9 p.m onwards, I would go crazy. I would go crazy with cold calling. So I would do about till about 8:30, and then I'd usually go to bed at about 10 p.m. So I'd sleep from 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I was getting about 8 hours of sleep every night, but I would specifically stop work at 9 p.m. And what I would do is I would load up World War II, Call of Duty. No, was it World War II? I think that was later. I would load up a specific Call of Duty, and I would just quick scope. For like an hour straight, I sort of unplugged my mind from all work, and I would sit in front of my Xbox, and I would just do quick scoping for like an hour, and I go to bed. Fall asleep, 10:30, wake up, repeat. That was my life for about a year during this apprenticeship stage. Now, my day naturally changed as I had to do service delivery and stuff. There's a whole video on my entire story that you can watch if you want on my channel. But I would sit in my car, in my Corsa, it's all steamed up, it'd be raining outside, it'd be cold, and I'd be tapping away on my keyboard, writing copy and producing funnels and stuff for my clients, and that was that. Now, by that point, I think I finished my apprenticeship making about $4,000 a month. So I signed a few clients, lost a few clients, learned a few lessons, but I finished with a steady income of $4,000 a month, which is pretty damn good for a kid of 18 or 19. I then got an office from a guy called Bihag, absolute legend, although he did rip me off with the price of the office a little bit. It's £383.33 a month, which is very, very surprisingly specific. And the reason it's so specific, I later learned, is because if you give someone a specific number, they're more likely to believe that you've actually calculated it and there's a reason behind it. So I paid £400 a month for this little office, set up some LED lights, got a leather couch for £30 off Facebook Marketplace, bought a shark toy from IKEA that I never looked at once again, I don't know why, and I set up this corner desk and I basically worked. So what I did once I had full-time access to my agency was cold calls. All I knew for 6 months was just dialing and saying the same thing. And people nowadays, clients and other friends of mine, family members, they say, Charlie, how did you get so good at sales? How are you able to sit down and articulate yourself on a YouTube video? You know, people ask about my YouTube stuff all the time. They're like, how can you just sit there for 10, 30, 40 minutes, an hour and just talk without making mistakes or without having any ums or ahs? For example, these videos, they're edited with jump cuts, but I literally make no mistakes, right? There's no ums, there's no ahs, there's no ifs, no buts, no pauses and awkward things. I just articulate myself fluently. And it's because I spent a whole year of my life doing nothing but talking to people and cold calling. And when you learn how to cold call, you learn verbal dexterity, right? You learn how to sound intelligent and to potentially be more verbose than you need to at times, purely for the reason that you can basically articulate yourself, right? And so that was what I did. Cold calling is painful. And the great thing about pain is the more pain you put yourself in, the more success you deserve. The market is willing to give you what you deserve, and the world will present you the opportunities that you deserve to have, provided you actually do deserve them in the first place. And if you want to know how to deserve something, you just have to put yourself through more pain. So I suggest you do cold calling because it will teach you a lot. The problem with people have with SMA a lot of the time is they start an agency and they send cold emails, they send cold messages, they try and do content. Then they start booking appointments, but they fall apart at the call because they haven't got any practice talking to business owners. Cold calls, you're simulating sales calls, mini sales calls over and over and over again. By the time someone actually books an appointment with you, you've got some level of confidence in your ability to bullshit your way through the call because you've spoken to so many people before that. Bachelor routine. So I kept my discipline of waking up really early, and then I would basically just cold call all day. That's the secret. There's no magic. I didn't wear blue light blockers. I didn't even know meditation was a thing at this point. I didn't know fasting was a thing. I just sat there and I cold called all day. And come to think of it, it was the best thing I ever did. And then I learned that you could send cold emails, and I learned my Loom strategy, and then I started scaling because cold calling is great to start, but it's not great to scale. So I got to 10K a month with cold calling. Then I started to learn how to get clients through Loom. I developed something that I now call DM Sorcery and how to get appointments using similar techniques that I use with cold calling through cold messages and stuff. But ultimately, that's how I did it. I know it's not sexy, it's not shiny, it's probably not what you want to hear. But if you commit, imagine this, right? Imagine this. You enter a market where there's about 50,000 businesses and you commit to calling every single one of them before you give up. What's going to happen? Probably going to make money, right? Someone's going to be stupid enough to trust you, right? Although that, I don't intend to insult you, but you see the point. Someone will have the faith or the confidence or maybe just the craziness to take a chance on you. And all you've got to do, if you called 50,000 people and you called them up and you said, look, my name's Charlie, I'm starting a company that helps gyms like yours get more customers, and I'm looking for someone to take a shot on me. Do you want to have a chat about that? You're going to get thousands of people saying no, but a couple of people are going to say yes. And then, off the back of that, you might talk to 100 people who still say no, then one person will say yes. And then what happens is you get that one person great results, you go back to the 100 people that said no. This is what I did, basically. This is literally the exact playbook I used. All my sales calls that were no's, I kept a log of them, kept the details. And then once I had like 3 or 4 clients that trusted me, I'd get them great results. And I would call back every single person who I spoke to who said no to me and said, hey, it's Charlie. Listen, last time we spoke, I was pretty anxious, and you can probably imagine that awkward sales call that I took you through, but I've got some results to share with you. I'm 6 months down the line here, down the journey, and I want to share with you 4 other gyms like yours that I've just crushed it for. Do you want to hop on a quick call and I'll screen share? And I did that, and that was how I got, my next few clients, and the momentum was built. You have to understand with cold outreach, the principle of business is latency. What that means is the work you do today is the reward you will reap in 5 to 10 years. For example, I'm sitting here reaping the reward of relatively, in some people's eyes, successful YouTube channel, right? And the reason that I'm reaping these rewards now is not because of the YouTube videos I'm making today, it's because of the cold calls that I made all those years ago. And it was the verbal dexterity I learned. It was the way to communicate myself with confidence and conviction, to put myself under the gun, under the spotlight, to have a good relationship with the camera, and to not make mistakes, and to be able to be consistent and everything like that. But cold calling above everything teaches you discipline, and it is by far the best thing you can do. You might be thinking, oh, but I'm in e-commerce, so I can't do cold calling. I would get out of e-commerce just so I could do cold calling. I'm not even joking. That is how much I value it. It's horrible, it sucks, it's painful, but it will make a man out of you or a woman out of you, and it will take you to a place that you don't want to be, but by being there, you will deserve to be successful, all right? So I wanted to share that story with you. I wanted to share the routine with you that basically got me to the first 10,000 a month, because if you emulate it and you do it for long enough and you're stupid enough and have enough of a pain tolerance to continue, you'll find you become successful. If you need help getting clients and you want to shortcut the process and get all my scripts and everything, click the first link in the description. It will take you through to a sales funnel that is designed to sell you something. For transparency, no bullshit here, no course, no 997 course, no webinar, no give me your email. Just check out the video. If you like what you see, you can book a call. If you don't want to, I don't mind. Like the video if you liked it. Subscribe if you want to see more of my face, which I hope you do. Make my day. And I'll see you in the next one. Have an amazing day, man. Take care.